Georgia Virtue presents the Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong podcast.
Welcome to episode 231. This week we have TikTok No, Gold Level Lobbyists, Ray DeLargo, and Jessica goes looking for loopholes. I'm Dave Roberts. With me is my partner in this endeavor, writer, journalist, dog mom, and owner of the GeorgiaVirtue.com, Jessica Szilagyi.
Hi, Dave.
How are you?
Super. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. Connie came home and asked me what I did to my face yesterday.
That's romantic.
Yeah, I know. I really need a shave, or needed a shave, and the goatee was getting a little too long, and I grabbed kind of the guard that was too short for the goatee and took it down with a 1. And she likes the goatee. And it's like, what the hell did you do to your face? So, well, thanks, honey. I know you like it a lot more when it's hidden.
Mm-hmm. Poor Connie. Poor Connie.
I know. But I'll go and I've said before, if you have a gentleman in your life, get him a shave and a haircut at a true barbershop. It is the closest thing we have to going for a day of beauty.
Well, and nothing makes you a better person than feeling pretty, Dave.
Exactly. And look, I'm not above going to get a manicure. Mm-hmm. Especially the way I abuse my hands with banging them on tools inside of equipment, stuff like that. I actually got my eyebrows waxed.
What?
Yeah, I had time to kill because waiting for time.
Was that for your cross-dressing show?
Yes. No, I didn't get them. What do they call it? Threaded. Uh-huh. But as middle age has gotten here, my eyebrows continue to grow, and I don't know why. I don't look like Eugene Levi or anything, but those bushes that are growing above my eyes, they need to get hacked back a little bit. But I was like, that's a new experience. No wonder y'all don't like to get everything else waxed. Good Lord.
All right.
Well, I'm sure there are other areas of the body that sting worse than my eyelids.
Speaking of
painful
TikTok.
Yeah, House administrators warn lawmakers against TikTok use. TikTok is a video service for those who are my age and older. That I guess you do little videos. It's super easy to edit, but it was conceived by the Chi-Coms.
It was conceived by?
Yes. And the original company that owned it was a Chinese company. Of course, we know that every Chinese company somewhere along the line is held by the Chinese Communist Party. Mm-hmm. And they are they constantly gather intelligence. So even at one point, service members were banned from having it on their phones until it got sold. And that leads us to where we are now with, I guess, lawmakers deciding to be cool.
Yeah. Well, Trump was a vocal opponent. He would have banned TikTok, I think, at one point, didn't he?
Probably. I mean, he says stuff like that.
But I resisted TikTok for a long time because I was like, enough social media platforms exist. I don't need anything else. Leave me alone. I'm not joining. And then one day, I don't remember what it was. It was probably some like dog video, to be honest. And I started scrolling, then I was like, oh my God, where does the time go? Because it's one of those, like, it's like Facebook Reels, obviously, because Facebook copied them to try to be competitive, where they just like keep coming, right? Like you go from one to the next and it's just 2 hours later, you're like, oh, okay. But I think it started off as like those viral dance things that we would see, or people doing pranks and viral like nominations, like I did this, now you have to do it type thing, and copycat stuff. And then people started putting dogs and kids, and it became more widely used. And now everyone's on it, it seems like. And lawmakers use it. I mean, I've put some stuff about corruption and whatnot and government accountability and stuff on there. People talk about like whistleblower stuff, 911 calls. It's really interesting. Like, it is a place you can get news. You just have to trust that you have to be a critical thinker, which is why we're in trouble as a country. But I digress. Anyway, this last week, the chief administration officer is warning lawmakers, don't use this during, like, as campaign season gets going. Don't try to be more relatable and on the lighter side to try to reach new people, because TikTok is not transparent about what it does with customer data, and they require like more permissions than other apps, and there's security risks involved. Just not really. And they also said, like, we don't even recommend you downloading or using the application, which I'm like, first, like, if you're talking about Congress members, and the argument, I guess maybe it's that, like, if you have access to it on your phone and you have other stuff that's shouldn't be shared or could possibly be compromised or something. But I mean, you shouldn't be using those things on the same phone anyway, if you really want to be honest about it. So I just don't really understand why this is the problem of the CAO office.
The app apparently, and I don't have the app. I'm gonna text a group with what I call my idiot friends. And there's a bunch of us in the group, and this is all stuff that we send to each other that we don't really want on Facebook, or our names tied to it on Facebook. Jokes. But a lot of them come through as TikToks. But every time it asks me, do I want to download the app? No. Apparently, the app pings your location every hour or something. Constantly is asking permission for all your contacts.
Yes.
Constantly asking for permission to all your photos and videos.
Yes.
And the problem comes in with honeypots and blackmail, which is a big problem when it starts coming down to OPSEC, operational security. Is if they find a text chain that a representative is having, then, you know, now they have something. Now they have an in to work this congressperson.
Oh, because they didn't before?
Yeah, it sure does make it easier when you do the hacking for them.
Okay, but at the same time, you shouldn't be using campaign stuff on your congressperson's phone. There should be a divide. You should have two phones, two systems. Like, you shouldn't have TikTok apps on your official business phone.
Well, and I tell you, we had a post commissioner out here, a friend of mine, and he had two phones. We were at lunch or something. I was making fun of him. I said, never trust a man with two phones. He goes, no, I'm a financial advisor in my real life, and the county phone is open for record requests. And because I'm a fiduciary, I can't have my client information and my government phone that's open for, available for open records requests. I can't have those two interact, so I have to carry two phones. Oh, well, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Most guys I know that have two phones, outside of reasons like that, are one's for the main chick, one's for the side chick.
Oh, Dave.
What do you want from me? I'll tell you the truth. But yeah, look, TikTok is taking the brunt of it, I think, because it's easier to pick on it because it's a Chinese company. All these apps do this. Look, LinkedIn. It's the reason I'm not on LinkedIn. To me, it's not a bad service to connect with other professionals, and even other professionals that you've worked with in the past that maybe you haven't seen in a while or whatever. Oh yeah, we both worked at Wachovia Bank together. Cool, and you start networking that way. I think it's great, but it's constantly asking you for all your contacts, and I don't want to put all my contacts out there. I don't even want to talk to most of my contacts. I keep some people in my phone just so I know not to answer.
Well, here's the thing, though. Like, people have been hacking email, and I mean, we talked about that. What was it? The most hated man on the internet, like hacking people's stuff through their emails and through other things without these apps. Like, if a nefarious party wants to do it, they're going to do it. somebody can get all this information. It's why, I mean, we've talked about the apps for in the quote post-Roe overturning America and tracking women's cycles on these apps. I mean, people have become so comfortable with technology that, like, if you're not doing it here, you're sharing the information somewhere.
Right.
I mean, they're talking about, oh, well, TikTok can get your device phone number. It can get Wi-Fi network names. I mean, okay, well, someone could hack my internet service provider as well and get all of that and my bank account number. I mean, like, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. I'm not saying that. But, like, to make this like a memo to send out to members of Congress and say, protect yourselves. I think it's a little excessive.
I mean, it's a good idea to especially when session starts, is to you need to remember to protect yourself on these apps. Any phone you use for government, sir. Yeah, and it's okay for them to put restrictions on the government phone, on the official phone. Say, look, these are the apps that we authorize. We don't give them official
phones.
Well, I don't know.
It's just
I don't know. I mean, obviously, a lot of the rules and regulations that govern this stuff were written when we were still using Morse code.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hell, you go to the Capitol and there's still private phone booths for the representatives. As if any rep now has to go running off the floor into one of the wings and pick up a landline.
Well, this Congressman Jamal Bowman, he's from New York, and he put out this statement saying TikTok has been a way to reach young and otherwise disengaged people, but now we have more details about the security risks of having it on government devices, and we will pause on usage until we feel safe and get further clarity. I mean, anything like these are the same people who, depending on who's in power and who's arguing at the time, tell us like, well, any voting machine that connects to the internet can be compromised, and any device that has Wi-Fi can be compromised. I mean, I don't know.
Right. Look, yes, anything that gets on the interwebs can be compromised. I don't care if you have a VPN or anything else. Anything. Any of us can be hacked if we become a target of somebody who knows how to do it. And obviously, if you're on the defense committee and armed services committee and stuff like that, or foreign intelligence committee, other nations are trying to get into your electronics. And it's more than just going after the Congress people or the senators. It's going after the staffer. Is getting into that phone and see what's going on, because those are your weak points. But I don't know. It is just politicians trying to look hip, and there's not many things sadder than watching somebody who's well past middle age attempting to do a TikTok, like Nancy Pelosi in her plastic face opening up her freezer full of ice cream. Or Liz Warren with I think I'm going to have me a beer.
Yeah, that was pretty awful.
Yeah. Her husband's walking through the kitchen. Hey, honey, do you want a beer? No, thank you. Maybe later. Like leave me out of your crap. So the newest fad in fundraising.
What could possibly go wrong?
Gold level clubs. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like this has been an off the record thing for a long time, and this is just more on the record.
Out front?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Money has always gotten you access. Money and power. And power can come in and could be your megaphone that you have for as a journalist. It could be the influence you have over other donors. It could be anything. But yeah, this kind of makes it, I won't say official, but goes ahead and hangs the sign on the front door saying, look, if you spend this much on contributions, you'll be invited to all these small meet and greets with this person or that person.
Perfect. Freaking perfect. So it's like elite clubs too, which, I mean, nothing says we love the public, we love the individual, we respect citizens more than high level. I mean, that's like the number one complaint we hear about fundraisers during campaign season is, well, I don't have $2,500 to pay for a plate of dinner and to get a picture with my favorite candidate or something. You know, like people are always complaining. Those are for certain people that like regular people can't afford that. So the optics are not good. And here they are like, oh, we're going to make a gold level, platinum level. Come join.
Well, that's been going on for years.
But not for lobbyists.
Not directly for lobbyists, but for donors. If you bought a plate, say the president's going to speak, and it's a fundraiser, the more you spend, the closer you get to the stage. The more you spend, the more time you get. You may get on the aisle and get a handshake, or you spend enough, you may get.
But what I'm saying is the optics of that are not good to the general public. They don't think they should have to pay $1,200, $2,500, $10,000. It's off-putting.
It is off-putting, but it's the way the world works. I'm a member of the Atlanta Gator Club. If I want to get into the room to go listen to the head football coach talk, it costs this much. If I want to get up close, it's going to cost this much. If I want to have a private meet and greet afterwards, it's this much.
Yeah, but the head coach doesn't want to make decisions about how I live my life.
No. Well, some do. No, you're right. But I'm saying that's the way it works. And look, this whole article says what you and I've said for years. That, politicking is not going in there and hammering politicians over the head with your issues. It's going in and talking about their kids or talking about, the Braves, talking about whatever, upcoming hunting season. Have you been fishing lately? And small talk. And that's politics. That's, folks who get into these circles and come in with an agenda and start swinging are pretty well ostracized. Especially in the South, that's the way we do things. It's much softer. It's more of a friends thing, but the fact that it's gotten into the professional lobbyists, and apparently lobbyists are paid based on their level of access.
Shocking.
Well, I mean, obviously, if you're Procter & Gamble and you're going to hire some lobbyists, you're obviously going to find the ones with the most access and the most influence over the FDA.
Sure. Like, that's why we see our elected officials go work for lobbying firms because they instantly have access.
Right. Yeah, because those are his buddies that are in there. It's like all they do is move on from one side of the velvet rope to the other. Mm-hmm. And absolutely, that is a trajectory when after you get out of Congress. So I'm going to go work for this group or that group and help spread their word as I did as a member of Congress.
Blech.
But I agree with you. It is somewhat distasteful, but it's nothing illegal.
No, it's not illegal. It's just, I mean, like I said, this has probably been going on for a long time, but like to advertise and say, hey, if you want to talk to me as a lobbyist, I mean, you can get a discount if you go to multiple ones. It's just ugly.
Yeah, come to our brunch club.
The brunch bunch.
Brunch bunch. Sorry, our brunch bunch.
You can attend a series of 7 brunches for $5,000.
And that better be some really good Eggs Benedict. And most of these breakfasts and things that are put on, it's not fantastic food. And usually the food's donated.
At least it's not barbecue. God, that's all we ever eat down here.
Because it's cheap and easy to dispense.
Well, and there's one in every town.
Right.
I mean, it's the go-to spot. But, there's the group, the Revolving Door Project. They are saying that it could be skating the line of pay to play because, well, they called it a facilitation of even more efficient corruption. The because they said the pretense is to a separation of campaign fundraising from issues of policy is breaking down. Which, I mean, that's an interesting point to say, like, if you're a lobbyist and you want to come talk to me about policy, you can pay this much money to my campaign account. I mean, but if they're not doing it to the campaign account, they're just going to do it to them personally. I mean, that literally happens. So, or they're going to pay for a vacation or.
Yeah, a little fact-finding tour to the Keys.
Yeah.
Let me show you what we're fighting here with Fish and Wildlife. So we're going to fly you down to Key Largo, and then we're going to go fishing for a couple of days, so you can see just how good the fishing is down here and why we need to protect it. Yeah. If that's the case, I guess I'm running for Congress.
Ugh.
I like to line nobody's pockets more than my own.
Mm-hmm.
That should be printed on like every campaign flyer.
Lord help us.
Well, I mean, it goes back to the old joke of if members of Congress had to wear patches for everybody who sponsors them like they do in NASCAR.
Right.
And it is a insatiable need that these folks have for raising money.
Constant, around the clock, all the time.
Even when they know they're not going to run for re-election, they're still raising money because that money buys them access. Because now they have money in a campaign account that they can give to other candidates.
Exactly. They're going to give it out. I mean, gosh, even when it's not an election year, some of our state lawmakers hand out $50,000, which at the state level, being able to hand that out and still have $300,000 or $400,000 in your bank account, that's a lot.
Yeah, but it's a way of retaining your power and gaining your access. And with that money in the campaign account that you can dole out to other candidates, that gets you that sweet lobbying gig when you stop being a representative. Yeah. And look, there are plenty who get out and walk away. Who don't get involved with lobbying for anything. They get out and walk away.
Yeah, because they found the whole thing completely disgusting and miserable. And they're like, please, Lord, kill me or let me lose or let me out.
Yeah.
They listen to the show.
Let me do my 80 legislative days and get the hell out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna run for re-election? Hell no. I tell candidates all the time when they first start coming out and say, okay, I think I'm going to run for this office. I tell them, the job sucks, right?
Right. You're not going to, if you like it, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah. Yeah. If this is the culmination of all your life experience is to get elected, something's wrong. Yeah. This is not a kid who learned to hit a baseball in the backyard with dad when he was 2 and walks onto a major league field. This is somebody who's had a thirst for power. And look, I'm always a little suspicious of the kids that push too hard, too fast to get into politics. Like we had one out here that was too young to run. Like, what's your hurry? Why don't you learn something a little about life before you try to get in and dictate how the people are living theirs?
Okay, Grandpa.
Hey.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess I just am tired of the same old men making decisions. It's not really going that well.
There is something in between 18 and 80.
There is, absolutely.
And there's a reason that even in the Constitution, when our founding fathers sat down, like, all right, we got to put some age limits on this crap.
Okay, but you're the one who says that, if you're old enough to serve your country with a gun, you should be old enough to do X, Y, and Z.
I agree. I just wouldn't vote for that person. Okay.
Well, okay, that's fair. But at the same time, so think, for instance, down here in rural Georgia, where, most kids graduate high school and either leave via college or the military, or they go to college around here and as fast as they can, they leave. And there have been a few times where, once they're of the age that is dictated by whatever place they want to serve, they run for office and they're like, they're running on the premise of, I want to make my community better. I want people from the standpoint of, I want to bring some things or try to attract some things or institute some things that make this area desirable for younger people.
Well, yeah, it's an old story. It's even in a song. Is it called a Small Town Saturday Night, where it says, "You know the world is flat because when people leave, they never come back."
Right.
Yeah, that's the idea, I guess, being, and all of our minds is, you graduate high school, go off to college, go off to the military, and then you grab all that world experience and you come home and make a life back where your hometown is.
But my point is that obviously people who have lived here their entire lives don't know how to recruit people back here because, after 30, 40, 50 years, no one's coming back still, like the trend of that has done. So like sometimes you need new young people to just offer a perspective, and they might not have left
they're doing stories last week about the average age of a farmer today is like 62.
Yeah, we're screwed.
Because young people just aren't going into that. They're just
Why would they?
I don't know.
It's miserable. It's the only industry in America that the government determines your input and your output. They determine your price on everything you buy to make your product, and every dollar and penny you get for it.
Yeah, and how much you can charge for it. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to step on you earlier.
No, it's fine. I just it's one of those things, like if you keep doing the same thing over and over, you're just going to get the same results. And no, I don't want to have a city council that's a bunch of 24-year-olds who, want to have happy hour before they have their city council meeting or something. Although it might make it more enjoyable.
It might be more fun.
Yeah. But I just think that like just being young is not a reason to say like you don't have enough experience to serve your community, because I think a lot of communities would really benefit from just having a voice like that they have to listen to because it's someone on the council. That's all. Right.
Well, yeah. Well, but here's the thing, that what I'm seeing with some of these super aggressive young people is they're getting involved in whatever political clubs in high school. They're going to college, getting involved in getting a political science degree, then coming out and look, if that's great if that's what you want to do. But they're coming out with political science degrees without any world experience, and then want to immediately start running for office and passing laws. And as a voter, I'd like to see a little more world experience.
I get that. I mean, I get that.
And I'm not Joe Biden's got a ton of world experience. He can't remember most of it, but he's got a ton of world experience. So yes, there's you and I often talk about finding something in the middle where. I don't necessarily want an 18-year-old running for president. But I also think that, an 82-year-old with dementia probably shouldn't be in the White House.
Well, if it helps, he probably doesn't know he's there, so.
I saw him almost get whooped by his jacket the other day. It's getting bad. They need to just start turning the cameras off. It is. And look, I don't want to go back to media blackout days. But most people didn't know that FDR was paralyzed. Most people didn't know that JFK was constantly getting back injections and could hardly walk after his war injuries with PT 109 because the press didn't show that. But now of course, everybody's got a cell phone camera. Now you've got a moment where the helicopter blades are still putting off air, or the wind catches your jacket, and we've all been kind of tied with a jacket and windy and trying to get your sports coat on, something like that. But the fact that it's Joe Biden and Jill, you see Jill just roll her eyes like, I got to dress him again. I'm waiting to see a state dinner where she grabs a napkin and puts mom spit on it and starts getting stuff off his face.
The only reason, I don't agree with what they did with Trump, and there's always been gaffes where, someone stumbles or trips, or that just happens because people are human. But, they just went after Trump for every little thing. And I do think at some point it's cruel with what's happening with Biden, but at least they are giving him the same treatment in that regard that they gave Trump, because, they talked about Melania's umbrellas and what was on the back of her jackets. And
yeah, but realize this, we used to have a sense of humor. And I think it was both under JFK. I think it was Jackie, who is in Mighty Cow in Puerto Rico. And I believe the line is, "I'm so happy to be amongst all these Mighty Cons," which is a derogatory term for gay people in Spanish. Mm-hmm. And everybody laughed and forgave her. It's just like JFK standing in Germany, in Berlin, and saying, "Today and every day, ich bin ein Berliner," which means I am a jelly donut.
Can you imagine if Jackie Kennedy said that today?
Ooh. Huh, yeah. A simple mispronunciation. I think Nixon did it with the peace symbol. I think it was in Brazil or something, which wherever he was, it was the equivalent of flipping him off. Everybody does it with cultural stuff, but yeah, we are quick to pounce, and it's at a certain point you do feel like you're punching down. This is the most powerful man in our country, and we feel like we're punching down. We're making fun of him.
Well, but are you making fun of someone if you just show what happened?
No, it's the rest of the talking heads, and me included, that see that and want to make a meme out of it or whatever else. Because I'm cruel. Yeah. But at a certain point you do kind of feel like, man, just please let this man put on his slippers and go and retire somewhere. But then we're left with Mela.
I can't.
And nobody wants that.
I can't. No, I won't survive that.
Boy, we got off of gold level donors. This is a good time to remind you that these are our opinions and not those of anyone not on the show or any respective company for which we may work, own, or otherwise associate ourselves with on a regular or irregular basis. Also, you can find other episodes and relevant stories over at thegeorgiavirtue.com. The news of the week last week, and continues to be the news, raid a Largo.
Speaking of Trump.
Was this Monday last week?
Yep, Monday. I didn't hear about it till Monday evening. I don't know when you heard about it.
It may have been overnight Sunday, because I think it was dark when it happened. Or maybe Monday evening when it happened. It doesn't matter. It was after we recorded last week, and we always hate when big news happens after we record.
Well, they're so inconsiderate of our schedule.
I know. So the FBI goes and gets a warrant to search Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence, and it happens to fall on a time when Trump was not home. So neither was his Secret Service detachment that accompanies even former presidents.
Well, they said there were a couple there on the premises, but yes, correct. By and large, the squad, not there.
Yeah, it was a big enough deal with as many police cars and that were in support, not in support of the raid itself, but in support, backing up the FBI agents that go in. They go in. They're looking. Allegedly, we haven't seen, as of recording. Surprise! It's not. We're not live. Because we don't know what's in the warrant, what they were looking for. Allegedly, they were looking for documents that should have been turned over to the National Archives.
That were supposedly highly classified. Supposedly.
And this included, one of the things they mentioned is a napkin that something was written on. A personal note from Kim Jong-un. That's the one we're in right now, right?
Yeah.
The short, fat one. Mm-hmm. And things like that. Things that end up in presidential libraries, but I guess you're supposed to release them to the National Archives, and I guess from the National Archives they can declassify and give copies so that you can put all the stuff in your presidential library.
It's such before we go any further, it's really an odd concept, right? That like anything, I mean, yes, I agree with records and stuff being open to the government or to the public because they're government records. But, we don't expect that when a mayor is given, maybe a letter of commendation from the county chairman, we don't expect him to turn that over. Like we know that was a gift to him, and that's, like, it's just, and again, yes, I understand as a president, but it's just an interesting concept that like nothing he was given, even on a gift level, it was really his.
Right. And look, it's called an I Love Me room. Is what you call it in sports or people who get out of the military. And you set your office up with all your awards and accommodations, or in the case of sports, your trophies and retired jerseys, stuff like that on the wall. I refer to it as the I Love Me room, kind of a monument to myself. And presidents do the same thing. If you look at interviews with Bush 43, you'll see him go through his house in Texas and show, oh, I got this from this person. And Bono gave, this was actually true. I saw this on one of the interviews with him, is Bono gave something to President Bush because Bush was supporting Bono's work in Africa with AIDS. And that Bono sent him something, a thank you for bringing this up and helping us out. I don't know what was seized. We don't know what was seized. We know it was several boxes. The reason I know about the handwritten note on the napkin and the letter from Kim Jong-un is those two things were mentioned specifically. But what was it, 15 boxes or something that were taken?
Yeah, that seems a little bit excessive. Like, my thing is how come if it's 15 boxes, why didn't they know he left with it?
Right. And they're also acting like Trump is sitting there after on January 7th. His quote unquote coup was unsuccessful. The electors are sitting, and he's sadly sitting with a box that printer paper was in, packing up his desk. And going, okay, this goes here, that goes there. There's a whole team that goes in and does that stuff. He may give direction, or his chief of staff may give direction. But
he had to put his own plant in the box.
Yeah, but his plant in the box and walking slowly to the limo outside of the White House.
The little fern leaves are hanging over the side.
He's on Marine One when he hears the call sign go over. Marine One now changing call sign to tail number XYZ.
Exactly. Like, I mean, some of it. I mean,
Melania just holding his hand while hugging Barron with the other arm as they get thrown out of their government paid housing.
Where will we go now?
What will we ever do?
Right. No, I mean, it's not funny given everything that's happened, but at the same time, it's like some of it is just a little bit over the top. And even, I feel like even some of the Democrats who really don't care for him they've even conceded that a lot of this is unprecedented.
I think even Chuck U. Schumer said something like, we better hear something about this because this isn't done. This just is simply not done. Even at higher levels of finance, if you're accused of cheating on your taxes, they don't come and bust your door down and start. They go to your lawyers. You guys talk. You set up a time. You have auditors come in, and that's the way things are done. This is not somebody who's running a sex trafficking ring that they want to bust the door down to make sure they get the victims out before they can be harmed. Yeah. They're going through Melania's suite, and people need to remember. And I know everybody who's listened to the show understands, but I feel the need to say it. This is not they went to her half of their walk-in closet. You know, within Mar-a-Lago and houses like this, Trump would have his office. I'm sure they have a bedroom, but she has her own suite for her clothes and the people that take care of her stuff, and so she has, you know, her own setups. They're going through her clothes, and I don't know. Again, we don't know the limits of the warrant.
No, we don't. And I'm sure that it was. I'm sure that it was broad because, I mean, papers.
I hope so for their sake.
Well, and the papers they could be in so many places. Some of it just seems, I guess they had to have known that this would make Trump a victim.
Which is why they do. I think they're in such an echo chamber that they keep listening to each other and go, yeah, screw that guy. They go, okay, nobody's going to care. Let's embarrass the hell out of him. And what it did is it immediately, as it's happening, you've got Trump supporters outside Mar-a-Lago with Trump flags and American flags, honking horns. I won't say making their presence known to the police that set up the perimeter outside,
which is kind of weird too. I mean, like
that sort of fandom. Yes.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of that fandom, but I guess my whole thing is, again, just like I've talked about with the January 6th hearings, like, why now? Why is it taking so long? Why are you moving so slowly? Why is all of this, like, if this was as big of a deal as some of the people are making it seem like, that it's possibly national security stuff that has been compromised with him taking these papers, why did you just let them sit? Because this wasn't the first we've heard about. We knew that there were 2 investigations into Trump, or inquiries, or whatever you want to call them, one being with January 6th and one being with these documents. And there are lots of sources that have said on the record, not even just like anonymous sources that spoke on the condition of, you know, not revealing their names, that they went to Mar-a-Lago in April and talked to Trump's attorneys at that time, and that the attorneys complied and had conversations and answered some questions, and that they showed them where the documents were at the time, and that they asked for them to put additional security measures in place. And so they added locks to the doors. Like that was in April. And here we are 4.5 months later. I don't know.
Well, the latest as we record is they think there was a tip that came in that must have put the need for the warrant over the top, the probable cause over the top, because apparently there was a tip that came in. But you're right, they were there. And again, even with the tip, it's not like Trump's hard to find. It's not like his lawyers are hard to find.
No, but they also saw the documents. Like if you saw them and they're labeled and the attorney is telling you that's what they are, is that not your probable cause to get them then?
You would think so. And it could have been handled because look, I don't think you're going to see Trump in an orange jumpsuit.
No.
No. Plus, orange would just wash out with the skin tone. I don't think you're going to see Trump. I don't think that's the goal either, because you're not going to lock up a 80-year-old man for documents. You're just not. Man, but Eric Trump, quote, the purpose of the raid, from what they said, was because the National Archives wanted to know, corroborate whether or not Donald Trump had any documents in possession. Well, I mean, that's what we just said. And again, you said back in April, they knew that he had them. They could have said, Mr. President, you can't have these here. We're going to send a team to secure them, and we'll put them in National Archives, and we'll make whatever copies. We'll go through this with your team, and we'll figure out what's what. And that would have been the end of it.
Well, all the conversation about, there's been a lot of outrage over the Biden administration saying, well, we didn't know about this. We found out about it from the news. And then Eric Trump gets on, I forget which one. He made several appearances, but he gets on TV and says, I know the White House as well as anyone. I spent a lot of time there. I know the system. This did not happen without Joe Biden's explicit approval. So is he suggesting that his dad knew all along in situations like similar to this during his tenure that he wasn't supposed to know about? Because that's how it looks.
If you make that big of a move, I won't necessarily say it's going to get to the Resolute desk. It's got to move pretty high up in the administration before you make a move like raiding a former president's home. Now, do I think the president gives authorization to every single investigation that
of course not. Yeah.
Department of Justice is going into? No. But if they were going to bust down Hillary's door, I guarantee you it would have gotten up to at least his chief of staff.
Speaking of Hillary, what Trump said about Hillary, and this is like more in line with, well, it's not working in Trump's favor that a lot of the January 6th investigation stuff or commentary is coming out at the same time. One, I think it's confusing for people. And two, I mean, it's just a lot of bad publicity on one side and a lot of outrage from his supporters on the other. It's just a mess. But, you know, he always said, if you're innocent, why are you taking the fifth? And then there was reports that he said like 400 times or 444 times or something recently. And so now all the commentators, are saying, why are you taking the fifth? Why are you pleading the fifth? If you're not guilty, why are you having anything to hide? Why aren't you giving us answers? You know, it's like more of the same old BS with the two-party system of whoever's in power and whoever's benefiting from whatever is happening. Suddenly, you know, it was Hillary's right, but now it's Trump's evasion. And Republicans are like, Hillary's evading questions and Trump has a right. It's just a bunch of freaking clowns.
And when you talk about a former president with that kind of stuff, you also get into executive privilege, which, as we learned with Nixon, is not absolute. But there is executive privilege. There's a lot of stuff that goes in there that, especially at state level investigation, if I were in his shoes, I wouldn't be answering questions either. You can order me to come in. You can't order me to talk.
When, there's a lot of people who are like, well, this is how it should have happened because he's not president now. He's the former president. And that is true. But, you know, we pay for Secret Service of former presidents. We afford them all kinds of different privileges. And so to suggest that he is just like you and me again is asinine. And because of that, I do think that it was handled inappropriately. I think now, after we're on the fifth day since it happened, I think what is concerning is, while I understand an investigation might be ongoing and that, quote, a normal person might not be afforded the information about what was in the search warrant at this point in time and all these other things, I think the from a stability standpoint, it's just not good that this is still without any information.
The only reason that they can possibly give that's valid, and this would be laughable, is they were afraid that Trump was going to destroy the documents and destroy the evidence.
After 20 months.
Right. And that now we get this picture of Trump, Eric, and Melania all sitting around a shredder and just dumping documents into a shredder as the police pull up outside. That would be the only reason to do a swoop in like that is we're afraid you can get rid of the evidence. And that's the excuse they give for no-knock warrants with drug busts and things like that is if we tell them we're coming, they're going to get rid of the drugs.
Yeah. But again, you were there. You were there and you didn't do anything.
Right.
And you were there and they admitted it and you didn't do anything. And so that tells me a lot because we didn't know they were there at the time. So it wouldn't have been this huge story. There were only a couple of them and there weren't helicopters and cars everywhere and media. But then the Trump supporters are behaving terribly.
You have radio host, former CIA agent, and best hair on TV, Buck Sexton, told Jesse Waters, who also has a great head of hair, that the search, quote, almost feels like a preemptive coup to stop Trump from running again. That added, this is undermining our faith not only in the peaceful transition of power, but in the executive arm of government under an opposition party not to act like the Stasi and not to act like the secret police that we've seen in totalitarianistic regimes. I can't talk.
Yeah. See, the thing is I think we all know that there is nothing that would stop Donald Trump from running again.
Well, age.
No.
Maybe. It's also very hard to tell somebody like, hey, you're past your prime. Once you pass the baton.
But he wants it, is what I'm saying. Like, we know he wants it. So, like, I don't think there was anything that was going to stop him.
But on the anti-Trump side, even CNN has referred to it as unprecedented. Quote, presidents have a solemn duty to protect America's national security, and allegations that former President Trump put our security at risk by mishandling classified information warrant the utmost scrutiny. Democratic Representative Carolyn Maloney of New York.
But like this doxing of the judge, I think it's hilarious. Like, what makes me irate is this happens to... I mean, I recognize the difference between a regular citizen and the president or a former president. I recognize it. But nobody cares about whether or not there's probable cause or if it's legit or if it's a good reason. They don't care about it when it's their neighbor or, you know, someone they used to work with or someone they hate in their own community. They just want the gossip and the drama, and they want to know. They'll drive by with their cell phones and want to know what's going on, and they don't care who the judge is that signed the warrant.
Yeah, and now they've doxed the judge. Exactly what the right said was completely inappropriate when it came to Roe v. Wade.
Totally.
We don't know what warrant the judge signed. We don't know what evidence he was presented for probable cause. We don't know. Even if this guy is a crappy judge and made the wrong call, there's a legal process for that. To dox this guy, start saying stuff like, "This is the piece of judge who approved the FBI's raid on Mar-a-Lago. I see a rope around his neck."
That's really helping your cause.
I mean, what's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Look, if I'm not saying it never will come down to shooting, but you need to let the process play out and see what happened. And look, it may be February before we actually get any answers on this, because it'll be after a new Congress is seated. Because I guarantee you, in the lame duck session, the Democrats are not going to hold hearings on this. They're not going to pull the FBI director up on Capitol Hill and start grilling him about this.
You don't think?
No. Unless it's something that helps their side. It'll wait until we have a new leadership in the House and in the Senate, and then at that point you may see this start coming up, because as soon as the new Congress is seated on, I don't know, whatever day it is, January 20th, the 2024 election starts. Hell, it may start the first Wednesday of November, because we are perpetually in a cycle. So yeah, another quote is, IDGAF, I don't give an F anymore. Name, address, put all that shit up on here. Sorry, Eric, these are direct quotes. And wanting addresses of close relatives. What is wrong with people? You can't point at the other side when the Supreme Court comes down with a decision they don't like, and they start shouting down justices that are out to dinner and things like that. We all say that's inappropriate. What the hell's wrong with you threatening a federal damn judge?
2022. We just lash out when we're furious.
can Trump be disqualified for running for president?
Well, I guess it depends on who you ask, and it's all going to come down to interpretation.
It is.
Because he'll run, I mean, they're going to, no matter what he does, they will contest it and fight it. It'll be like Marjorie Taylor Greene, where there's, constant lawsuits challenging her candidacy.
I've heard the theory that yes, if he got popped with the records, that could keep him from running for re-election. I've got several reasons I don't want him to run for re-election. One is his age. The other is the minute he's elected, he's a lame duck.
Mm-hmm.
There is no next 4 years. He's a lame duck the minute he's elected. And traditionally, presidents in their second term don't get a whole hell of a lot done. So, would it be better for the Republican Party to move on to somebody who has a potential 2 terms and let Trump throw his weight behind him?
Yeah. Well, and we've talked kind of like around this issue, but because it would be a felony, but it wasn't a felony until he was president. What they're alleging he's done. Right.
And that's what would be the disqualifier.
Which was mishandling classified
information, right?
Allegedly, right now.
Yeah, if that's what happened, and again, we don't know, and I'm certainly not saying he's guilty. We both agree the raid was uncalled for.
I think it's mishandling. Obviously, there's more to it. There's a code section that has specific language and stuff, but like mishandling classified information certainly seems like a high threshold to prove. What is the definition of?
It is a very high threshold to show, because one, you have to show that he knew that's what he was doing. There's odds you can't even find his fingerprints on that stuff, because again, he didn't handle his own move. That there was no U-Haul parked out front. Yeah. So anyway, Jessica, you got your closing thought?
Yeah. So we've talked a couple times on the show about the farming relief program. We think we talked about it when they implemented it, and then when the court said they couldn't deal with it, or they couldn't allow it to continue to be implemented, which was this massive debt relief program intended to help Black farmers. And it, like, the government literally teed it up to just be this racial war, and white farmers sued, asking for an injunction because it was discriminatory. And the court agreed with them for obvious reasons, but Democrats are planning on like officially rolling it back, and then they're going to institute something new because, of course, why wouldn't they? And they're looking at putting $5 billion towards, instead of going after or targeting farms that are owned or run by Black farmers, the standard will be helping farmers whose operations are deemed to be, quote, at financial risk, which is literally every farm in America, but they also have to have faced discrimination. I am interested to see what the language ends up being, because technically, after what Congress did, they opened the white farmers up to having faced discrimination, even though the program was halted. I mean, some of the money was dispersed. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting, but they're so gross. Like, I don't agree with what they're doing, but the way we've broken agriculture and the agriculture industry, our farmers have no choice but to take handouts and bailouts. So if you're going to make the money available, just make it available. Why do you have to have all this garbage nonsense language about discrimination and who's been hurt worse? I mean, quit effing up the farming and maybe it won't suck so bad. I don't know. Anyway, that's it.
Yeah, we're antitrust, anti-monopoly until it comes to the government getting involved in farms. Mm-hmm. Olivia Newton-John last week, I think as our show dropped, lost a 2-decade-long fight with cancer. And it's the first thing I thought of, because, Olivia Newton-John did several things in the 80s, but of course is famous for playing Sandra Dee on Grease. Mm-hmm. And there was a report. We had to do famous people for a history class, something when I was in high school. And one of the girls did Olivia Newton-John. So at the very end, she kicks off her jacket or whatever she was wearing. She's got like a black leotard underneath, something similar to what at the end of Grease was singing "You're the One That I Want." She goes and she straddles the coach and just whispers. It just goes up to him and goes, "Tell me about it, stud." I have never seen a grown man look more uncomfortable than having a 17, 18-year-old high school junior on his lap in front of class. He looked visibly uncomfortable. Like,
I'm sure
get the
he
hell
was
off
mortified.
of me. He was. I actually ran into him at a 4th of July party years later and was making fun of him for it. And he pretty much admitted, like, yeah, that he was shocked, didn't expect it. Certainly nothing he can talk about, but yeah, he turned white as a sheet.
Yeah, brutal.
So that's my only Olivia Newton. That's the closest I've been to Olivia Newton-John as a kid in my class impersonating her. So for Eric Cumby, our editor, who takes what audio we send him and turns it into something that's listenable, Jessica Szilagyi, my partner in the endeavor, I'm Dave Roberts. Have a great week.
Catch me howling at the moon. Try to catch me howling at the moon. Try to catch me howling at the moon. Try to catch me howling at the moon. When it rains, it pours. Water's up to my chin.